Hello, welcome. It's Francis here. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I bid thee welcome. There is a subscribe button below if you would like to help support this channel by subscribing. Also a bell to be notified as to when I upload more content. I'm coming to you from Ghana country, and as such, I acknowledge the Ghana people of the Adelaide Plains as being the traditional custodians of the land upon which I reside. So this video is going to be about the upcoming full moon that will be taking place here in Adelaide on the 14th of January at 8:56 a.m. So that's Australian Central Daylight Savings Time. Depending on where you are in the world, this, of course, will be happening on the 13th. It'll be in the astrological sign of Cancer at 23 degrees 52 minutes. They say 24 degrees, which means that the sun will be opposite at the same degree point in Capricorn, shining all its light onto Lady Luna, exposing what's been hidden in the shadows, and also enabling things to rise up into our conscious awareness that are coming to an end or need to be concluded. Because after all, the moon is all about endings, the culmination of something. To gain a little bit more of a perspective as to how this may affect you personally, if you have your natal chart, look to see what house 24 degrees of Cancer is in, and whether you have any planets or points there that could come into play. Also, because Cancer and Capricorn are cardinal signs, meaning that they herald in or instigate new beginnings, bringing fresh perspectives, etc., along with Aries and Libra, take a note of what houses all of your cardinal signs are in, because they could very well be affected by this new moon, so full moon. The moon is the planetary ruler of Cancer, so this means it's in its home sign, and as such, this sort of pull on our need to become homebodies and to bring out that sort of sense of homesickness if we are away from home or estranged from loved ones, can be heightened. And as full moons make us emotional anyway, this can be intensified with the moon being in its home sign. So we may find ourselves more sensitive, not only to our own selves, but to other people around us. We can become more sentimental, even being absorbed in memories of a long-lost lover or friend whose relationship may have broken down. And all these heightened emotions are affecting our mood, sort of dragging us from dizzy heights of bliss into dark lows and then back up again. So little wonder we want to return home to where we feel safe. But wait, as they say, there is more. And I have actually prepared a little chart, which is unusual for me because I'm not an astrologer. I've just done this from AstroDentist, which gives you free charts. I've done one for Australia at the time of the full moon. And what's interesting, this is what Pam Gregory pointed out, is that there are 5 planets in water signs. So we've got the moon and Mars, as well as Venus, Saturn, and Neptune. They are in Pisces. The moon and Mars are in Aries. So a moon and Mars are in Cancer. I'll get my head around it eventually. So there is a lot of water around. What is also interesting is that Neptune is almost conjunct to the North Node, because the North Node is sort of dipping its, or about to dip its toes into Pisces. The nodes will be changing, I think, later this month. They'll be changing signs. Oh, excuse me. And moving from Aries for the North Node into Pisces, and Libra for the South Node into Virgo. And this means that our heightened emotions, with the moon being in its home sign, are going to be even more heightened. But what it could also mean that on a collective level, we might be a little bit more compassionate. We might see a little bit more compassion and a little bit more sensitivity towards others. Not to mention more water about. And that's quite interesting considering, I think it was on New Year's Day, part of the northwest of England experienced flooding. And then more recently, central and eastern regions of South Africa experienced flooding. So what would happen in the next few days leading up to this full moon? I also want to make note of another observation that Pam Gregory made, and that is the sun here in Capricorn is just over a degree from that Pluto Saturn conjunction of 22 degrees 45 minutes of Capricorn. That occurred on the 12th of January 2020, which in effect started the whole pandemic. So what this means in relation to this full moon is that there is going to be a bit of an echo point, a time to reflect, especially with the sun highlighting this point as to how far have we as a collective come since that time. The sun could be shining its light on power dynamics, whether externally or internally. How far have you come in relation to your own consciousness, your own awareness? And now coming back to the moon, as I said, it's close to Mars. Mars is a retrograde, 27 degrees 4 minutes of Cancer, indicating a further heightening to these mood swings, especially if there has been any deep-rooted anger or rage, the sort of stirring of deep reflections of past actions, as well as past relationships. But it's not all about doom and gloom, because such deep dives can actually lead to much needed healing or resolution of past emotional cause, the releasing of that, or any connections that are holding us back. And this is all because the moon itself is also in a trine. So that's 120 degrees away, one of the more positive flows of energy between planets and points. It's in a trine to Neptune here. And Neptune teaches us to be deeply compassionate. It's the symbol of divine potential, universal love, and cosmic consciousness. And it will be in Pisces, it also reveals our imagination, our psychic sensitivities, and also any connection to the mystical side. And then added to that, the moon is also in a sextile to Uranus, which is in Taurus. And sextiles are the second most favorable aspect, being only 60 degrees difference. So there's the moon, and here's Uranus. And Uranus is associated with authenticity, with personal truth, bringing in more ease and allowing us to do just that, to walk our talk and not put on those false masks in order to blend in with society. Uranus is also about change, to get out of the old stuck routines and to allow and embrace the new emotional breakthroughs that we may be experiencing, and the deep-rooted anger that maybe it's time to release and move on from, so we can embrace the new ideas. So we have these two positive releases, the trine to Neptune, and also the sextile to Uranus, that can assist with these intense emotions that will be rising up to the surface, especially as Neptune is also associated with empathy and healing, as well as being inspired. And with the Sun directly opposite Lady Luna, this means that the Sun itself is in a trine to Uranus and a sextile to Neptune, bringing into our conscious awareness what and where our focus is needed. And another aspect of the moon and the sun being opposite at full moons is that these energetics can also test relationships, as the sun represents the individual, whereas the moon is sort of the public or the others. And we have Venus. I'll just show you where Venus is. Venus is here in Pisces. She is the planet of relationships and union, and at this full moon, being in the watery Pisces, this is probably one of the better signs for Venus to express herself, especially for unconditional love, for being empathic, for being compassionate. She's also conjunct with Saturn, which could test or consolidate relationships depending on how strong they are. Then with this influence of Neptune coming in, there could also be another highlight in the desire to focus on healing any issues you may find bubbling up in your relationship, especially as there is going to be this ongoing square with Saturn and Jupiter in Gemini. So Jupiter's here, Gemini, Saturn's over here, and Pisces. You know, this square, which is 90 degrees, was exact on Christmas Eve. So that was 24th of December. It'll be exact again on the 15th of June. And this square is triggering optimism, hopefulness, sort of expanding the Venetian desires. But with Jupiter also squaring Saturn, this is sort of also reminding us of the work that is needed in order for us to achieve the ultimate outcome. So again, if you had your natal chart, see what houses in your chart these planets fall into, as Jupiter will be wanting to expand that house, while Saturn will give us the focus as well as the list of chores that we need to do, the reality check, so to speak, on, in particular, our belief systems as well, as these truths come to light and as more is revealed. So there's a lot of support, regardless of all of that, around personal relationships. I'm just going to stop sharing now. So we do have a lot of support around these personal relationships. It's all about sort of taking responsibility for our actions, healing any rifts that will also result in these emotional breakthroughs and healings. If not for the relationship, but then definitely for ourselves. However, if the opposite occurs, if we bury our heads in the sand, if we go into denial or even refuse to honestly look at and accept the roles that we play in our relationships, then the relationship could very well be doomed. And just another thing about this sort of Jupiter-Saturn square is that it could actually be triggering off financial concerns, because Venus is also not only the ruler of Libra, which is about relationships, it is also the ruler of Taurus, which governs finances. And then we've got the expanding Jupiter coming into play against the contracting Saturn. So once again, if you take action, if you lean into the impulses, especially from the impatient Mars, which is conjunct with this full moon, there is a lot of cosmic supports in possibly resolving financial situations. And these could include, say, business contracts, as well as other financial responsibilities. What's interesting with this Cancer Capricorn axis between Sun and the Moon, that this is all about our emotional security and as well as our practical security in light of the intensity with respect to Mars and Pluto in their opposition, which they were direct on the 3rd of January. And once again, it's important to find a place of groundedness, of calm and of peace within that you can draw upon when the external world is getting, shall we say, a little bit too loud. What is interesting too, and maybe I will call back up the chart again, is that we have the Sun here and the Moon, and we have Chiron. So there is a square to Chiron. Chiron's at 19 degrees of Aries. A square is 90 degrees. This is the exact degree point that Chiron was at during the total solar eclipse last year in April that fell across America. This is the wounded point that's being highlighted again by the Sun. And Aries is all about the I am, the self-identity, sovereignty, the handling of power to external forces. It's also in relation to issues around victimhood. What have we healed? Have we healed? Are we still wounded? And added to this, though it's not showing in this chart, Pam Gregory also mentions that the Sun and the Moon are in a tighter square to Aries, which is at 24 degrees 23 minutes of Aries. And I think I've mentioned Eris before. Eris is the goddess who threw the golden apple at Mount Olympus when she wasn't invited to the wedding, and she said that this apple was for the fairest, in which all the goddesses went off and had a big squabble. And so she's also doesn't tolerate victimhood mentality either. So there is this really strong emphasis to really deal with our wounded shadow self. So this new moon, so full moon, I don't know why I'm calling it new moon, it's a full moon, is going to be emotionally intense. It could very well highlight and bring up deep-seated emotional issues that, excuse me, we have been carrying around for way too long that we really need to let go, that need to be processed, worked through, integrated. It's also about responsibility, accepting responsibility for the role that we've played in these relationships, moving away from that victimhood, that blaming that it's always someone else's fault. It's like we also had the role to play as well. And moving from victimhood into self-empowerment through taking responsibility. Yes, taking self-responsibility. And the benefit for all this emotional maturity is that we can finally let go of all these past attachments and move forward lighter and freer as the rest of this year begins to unfold. So in doing that, if you are in Adelaide, you are invited to attend the annual UDEMY Blessing of the Waters. It will be taking place on Monday the 13th. Now, this will be down at Largs Bay Beach, and we will be meeting because of daylight savings time in the Northern Car Park around, say, 7:40, quarter to 8, heading down to the foreshore for about 5 minutes to 8. With this rite, we do offer a gift to Yemaya. There's a link, well, a suggested list of biodegradable or natural offerings to give her. I'll put the link below to the Mystical Soul Academy about this event. And another sort of shout out for people in Adelaide. I'm doing a lot of in-person courses through the, excuse me, the WEA Adult Learning Centre, which is in Angus Street in the city, including guides to Antarctica, New Orleans, mala making, Celtic goddesses, ancient Egypt, etc. And I'll put the link to the WEA below. And a final sort of shout out is that on Saturday the 25th, I'm doing a presentation through the College of Psychic Studies in London on Dendera, Hathor, and the Breath of Creation. This will be recorded. So if London time doesn't work out for you, you can still pop in and listen to the presentation. And we're going to be sort of exploring the wonders of this temple. It's one of the best preserved ancient temples from ancient Greece, as well as the mysterious crypt images, the primordial role of Hathor, the cosmic cow, and also connecting with Nut, the sky goddess, in the meditation. And I'll put the link below. So there's a lot happening in this first part of the year. So either check out my website, Mystical Soul Academy, or sign up for my newsletter. But before I go, I thought I would share, considering this intense emotional full moon, the full moon releasing meditation rite that is in my book On Her Soul's Rays. Because this is, it's a perfect rite to help us with this upcoming full moon, with all the intense emotions and the healing work needed. So, full moon ritual release. And I do mention the work of Yasmin Boland. She's done a book called Moonology. I think she does it every year. She does a little journal as well, and also cards. And she suggests that the most of the full moon energy that we can use is to forgive somebody who may have done us wrong, even when we have perceived their actions as wronging us. She advises that when we are upset or angry with a person, our emotion locks us into that particular point in time, and as such, it is easy for us to feed off this energy, keep going into a loop, which only causes the spiral of the pain and the anger to increase, and the energy to become darker and heavier. Through the act of forgiveness, our energy becomes lighter as we lessen our emotional attachment. Now, I really like this idea. Too often, even if we think we have forgiven someone on a deeper level, we may still be holding on to that feeling of being hurt or angry, disappointed, or let down. If there is a person involved, then what we can do is write their name down along with what they did or what we did to them. And that way we can release ourselves and forgive ourselves from the part that we played in that incident. I'm just sort of scanning through, because I don't want to read all of this because my throat's a little bit itchy. When we forgive, we lessen our emotional attachment to the incident and sometimes even to that person, allowing us to move on. Forgiveness only truly works, however, if we are ready to forgive completely and mean it on all energetic levels of our being. So that's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. So tapping into the full moon energy to release outdated and prohibiting emotional attachments, begin by taking a couple of deep breaths to calm yourself. Then when you're settled, think of the incident, the habit, the thought person, pattern, the idea, the upset you wish to release, and write it down. If there is a person, write down their name, along with what they did or what you think you did to them. The incident doesn't need to be recent. It could be something that occurred a number of years ago, but you are still holding on to for some reason. If you have more than one person or one incident, then that's fine. You can create a forgiveness list that you can utilize as a means of releasing outdated emotional attachments. Yasmin Boland suggests creating a bubble of pink unconditional love around the situation or the person. And if you're not able to do that, then a clear bubble is fine. Holding that visualization is the next stage. See that person or that instant then beginning to disappear and say to the moon, Lady Luna fallen round, allow me to forgive all who have caused me ill, all past experiences and memories, my mistakes, take from me. May there be peace where anger stood, surrounded by unconditional love. Lady Luna, release all from me and bestow forgiveness. So may it be. And then check in with your feelings. How do you feel about that person, that incident? If you still feel that you have some emotional attachment, you might want to repeat that chant, repeat that exercise before moving to the next person, the next incident on your list. Then there is a next stage. If you have no emotional attachment, or you want to lessen it, if you've got a little bit there, there's a Buddhist, it's part of the Tonglen practice, where you can chant, may you be happy, may you be free. Sort of cementing your release. And as I said, it comes from the Buddhist Tonglen practice, which is based on releasing emotional attachments through forgiveness. And alternatively, you could visualize the emotional energetic cord that connects you with this person. And as you recite the chant, visualize it dissolving. And you can read more from my book, Mono Silver Rays, published by Moon Books through Collective Ink. And I'll put the link below for that if you are interested. And yes, I think that's about it. So, make some comments below if you find this of interest, or if you want to, or your results from, if you've done the releasing of the full moon. And take care, especially rise those emotional waves. Yay, aren't we lucky? But this is all about getting ourselves ready for the big shifts that we have coming in for this year. So take care and blessing.